It is a treat to be here with you, and I had the opportunity of visiting the Chick-fil-A restaurant that we have downstairs, and we appreciate your support of our business there. Look like business is going good, and so a lot to be thankful for. I do bring you greetings on behalf of my father. Several of you asked about him. Saturday morning, as he got up, he wasn't feeling well at all, and my mom felt it necessary to get him over to Fayette County Hospital, where they diagnosed that he had a gallbladder that was not functioning properly. In fact, I think it was making gallstones, and so they transferred him up to Piedmont Hospital in Atlanta, where on Sunday morning they removed his gallbladder, and so he's kind of recovering from that. He had a little bit of a blood infection, and so they've got him some heavy antibiotics. I spent the night with him there at Piedmont on Tuesday and the day with him, and I'll be camping out with him tonight there at Piedmont Hospital, but I know that he would have loved to be here. He loves to have a lot of fun, and he's just joking just all over the place with the nurses and other folks that is there. Keeps a very, very positive, uplifted attitude about things. Saturday, as they were boarding the ambulance to move him from Fayette County Hospital to Piedmont, they put him on the stretcher, and they put him in the back of the ambulance, and he told me to come over here, so I jumped up in the back of the ambulance. And he says, "Now, Dan, I'm not going to be able to be at the Martin Luther King awards that are supposed to be received tonight." This is on just this past Saturday night. He was to be recognized at an awards banquet along with Senator Clinton, who was in town. And he says, "Now, I can't speak. You're going to have to stand in for me to accept this award." And so he gave me some instructions on what to say. And he gave me several things that he wanted to say. One of the things he wanted to say, he says, "I want you to tell them that black people need white people need black people, Republicans need Democrats need the Republicans, and they all need the Lord." So that's what I delivered as I presented that comment there on his behalf. And as I pulled off the interstate, I was here just 2 weeks ago. I'm a regular customer of your large animal veterinarian practice that's right down the street. And my wife is into horses, and we had one that was colicking, and so we appreciate opportunity to take. I'm a satisfied customer here, Auburn University Veterinarian School, so highly recommend it. Fantastic facility. Well, this is an incredible time in which we live today as we think about our economy and the incredible amount of change that's taking place today. And I asked Bob what I might share or talk about, and he mentioned that we might want to talk just a little bit about customer service. I think all of us are involved in some aspect of our product or service that we render, and the opportunity that we have to kind of take it to the next level. And that's certainly true at Chick-fil-A. The biggest competitor that we have is our own sense of complacency. We are one of those 62-year-old family businesses where we've never had 1 year of sales less than the previous year for 62 consecutive years. So let me assure you, it's not McDonald's, Wendy's, or Burger King. Thank you. It's not Wendy's or Burger King or McDonald's that we compete with, but it's our own sense of complacency. I saw David Novak just yesterday. He's the chairman of Yum Brands. They're the ones that operate Kentucky Fried Chicken, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut. And so I very proudly presented him with one of these Chick-fil-A cows exactly like you've got on your tables here. Looks like most of them have already ended up in your wallet or pocketbook here. But you take those home with you, enjoy those. Those cows don't spell very well, but they do have an important message to encouraging you to eat more chicken. This campaign's been going on for about 12 years. Someone asked us, how long are we going to keep it up? And I enjoy being able to tell them with a smile on my face, we're going to milk it till the cows come home. So it's been a great campaign, and it works very well. They don't spell very well. We do get letters from time to time from English teachers that talk about the disservice to America on literacy issues here. And so we have a nice little letter that we send back that had these cows been in your English class, I'm sure they would have known how to spell better. But in the meantime, here are copies of our ads. We can pass those out to the students, let them circle the misspelled words so we can make something positive come out of it. But what about this issue of change? I love this quote that says this, that when the rate of external change exceeds the rate of internal change, disaster is imminent. Think about that for a moment. recently I got this little BlackBerry Storm. I'm not so sure I really like it a whole lot. I've still not fully learned how to use all the features of it and so forth. I may need to download some new software on it. But nonetheless, and I know our new president's going through withdrawals right now, having to give up his BlackBerry as reported in the news. But this little BlackBerry, I think, is a metaphor of all the change that's taking place around us. It's change in terms of access to information, the readiness of information, how quick we have to be ready to embrace, how quickly and how agile we have to be. Someone that says that great businesses today are known as 5 F's that we build into our business culture, that we're fast, focused, flexible, friendly, and fun. And this issue of flexibility is very important. Darwin said in a newspaper writing I read this past weekend that it's not the strong that survive or the fastest that survive, but their ability to adapt. And certainly in today's market economy that we're in today, it's our ability to adapt. And so change is that which we must embrace. I recently subscribed to Facebook. Now, all of y'all that are on Facebook, I'm not going to ask how many show of hands. You can put my name in there. We'll be friends. And so I'll click confirm and so forth on there for you. But the sad thing is about half of you don't even know what I'm talking about, and you don't want to admit it. But Facebook, you better get with it. I'm afraid I'm on Facebook, to be quite honest with you, simply so I can have an intelligent conversation with our IT people. In fact, I'm pretty sneaky with our folks in our IT department because I subscribe to IT magazines, but I don't even read them. They've got to go through the mail office there at the office, and by the time they filter up to my office, people think I'm reading these. But I do flip through the headlines just to pick up on some of the words and the phrases, you know. And so I'll just kind of drop those in from out of town from time to time. I've got some of my Sunday school boys here, and I think y'all have heard me tell this story. I'm going to date this story, but one of these young ladies in my Sunday school class came up and said, Mr. Cathy, are you going to the NSYNC concert this weekend at Lakewood Amphitheater? And I looked at her with a look of bewilderment on my face and said, NSYNC? You know, what might you? She said, it's a music group. They got 2 sold-out concerts in Atlanta. And she said, Mr. Cathy, you don't even know what I'm talking about, do you? And I said, no. And then she made this statement. She said, Mr. Cathy, have you been living under a rock? And so here I am, a Sunday school teacher, and I had no idea, you know, who the group was. I had to confess to you, they had this big party the other night, their inauguration party, the night before the inauguration for all the teens, and had these popular musicians that were there. And I have to confess, I didn't even recognize any of those names. You know, I was expecting, you know, Grateful Dead, Three Dog Night, some of those bands, but they weren't on there. But you and I better get with it. Now, here's what we've done at Chick-fil-A. We've changed our menu items. We've gone from shopping mall locations to freestanding restaurants, and we've gone from freestanders to satellite locations and licensee sites like what we have downstairs. And our business is perpetually changing. We've really embraced this idea. And I'm on Facebook so that I can encourage other people to get with it. Let's get with it, get what's going on, stay on top of things. If we don't stay on top of things, this obsolescence will slowly begin to creep into our culture. And there'll come a point in time in which we cannot change fast enough. And whether you're General Motors or a Ford Motor Company or Delta Airlines, if you and I don't embrace change on a day in, day out basis, we may find our names in headlines, 24-point type on Atlanta Journal-Constitution, bankrupt. That's a sorry state of affairs for businesses to lead in such a way such that employees whose lives and welfare are dependent upon business leaders making good choices and decisions. So I just want to encourage you here today that you and I, whether we care to be on Facebook or not, whether we care to be a Twitter or not, some of you know what I'm talking about, we better get with it so we can keep up. So at least when we have a Sunday school class, we can kind of drop these names and let them know that we do know what's kind of going on and not be obsolete. So we did this several years ago. We began to think about, you know, what needs to change in our business. And while we changed many things, we had never changed the recipe on our service. We'd changed our recipe on items for breakfast. We'd changed and add milkshakes and all kind of different things that we'd changed, but we never had changed our recipe. And our basic recipe for service was the same recipe that you'd find, you know, down the street. It was about clean parking lots, toilet paper, soap in the dispensers. May I take your order, please? You know, it was hot fries, 2 pickles on a sandwich, on and on and on. Whether it's Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, or Wendy's, you know, we all basically had the same kind of recipe. And we knew that we would never distinguish ourselves. We would never distinguish ourselves if all we wanted to do was do a great job in just delivering to what customers expect. If you really want to distinguish yourself, if you really want to break out of the pack, you and I have got to go above and beyond what people expect. And so we did a little exercise. We simply took a piece of paper. I'll give you one thing that'll be worth your time here for. Take a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, and say, I want to put on the left side all the things my customers expect. You know, whether you're a professional practice, medical business, mayor of Atlanta, or whoever, mayor of Auburn, or wherever you might be, you know, what do people really expect? And then we found this, that Jesus had a lot to say to us as restaurateurs. I mean, he was a restaurateur. You think about the first miracle he had was turning water into wine at a hospitality wedding event. He was teaching some wonderful things. His teaching that he had to feed 5,000 people. And he was able to take, you know, fishes and a couple loaves of bread and feed 5,000 people. Lowest food costs we know in history of food service operation, and he did it on more than one occasion. Even the greatest leadership lesson was what? The Last what? Supper. And he, you know, was the host for the evening, serving those that were there. Even after his resurrection, he was on the side of the seashore, it says, you know, serving and cooking up breakfast for the disciples. Not sure if he had any of our Chick-fil-A chicken and minis or not that morning, but he was there. So he was a restaurateur. This is what he said to retailers. He said, if someone asks you to go 1 mile, go with them the 2nd mile. Someone hits you in one cheek, turn the other cheek. If someone sues you for your shirt, give them your coat also. He was all about going way, way beyond what people expect. Oftentimes, we simply have not spent enough time really very succinctly understand exactly what do our customers expect of us. And then beginning to ask ourselves, what might we do beyond that? Several years ago, God began to notice that some special things that were going on. And when those things kind of gelled together in my mind, I said, what if we were to do this everywhere? I saw things like pepper grinders in one of our restaurants, Windy Hill Road. I'll never forget. I looked over the shoulder of one of our operators there, and there was a pepper grinder on a trash can. I thought it was left over from one of the customers, a lost and found item. I'd never seen a pepper grinder in one of our Chick-fil-A restaurants. And this operator says, well, you know, we serve a lot of entree salads here, and we found it surprising to our customers that come by and offer fresh ground pepper with your salad. He said, we have customers that don't even like pepper. But, you know, just the act of offering fresh ground pepper, and then fresh flowers in all of our restaurants. When you go to Chick-fil-A, on our tables will be fresh flowers that are there. Other kind of special things that we were doing. So we kind of packaged all that together. And we're in the process of doing an extreme service makeover at Chick-fil-A. And it's absolutely remarkable the kind of impact that it's having, letters and so forth that it's written in. And we're teaching young men how to treat ladies as they should be treated. We've taken these barbaric young men and we're teaching them how to pull out a chair for a lady and serve from the left, remove from the right. And some of them are quite taken by that. And I know that some of the ladies that I've served, they'll look up at you and they'll ask you, can I take you home with me? And I said, no, I'm happily married. But here's the impact that you find, that it's been a long time. It's been a long time since some of these ladies had somebody pull the chair out for them. And I want to tell you, gentlemen, we have an opportunity to affirm the ladies that are here by offering courtesies to them and etiquette to them. We partner with the National Washington School of Protocol and the Junior Cotillion to help build our curriculum of how we're going to bring civility back into young people. We're going to teach you more than just wearing your name tag and coming in and having a smile on your face, but how to treat people with honor, dignity, and respect. But all this, the genesis for this, though, you know, comes back to truths and principles that have never changed. And it's as important as this BlackBerry is that I keep in one pocket constantly. Let me just share with you that there's some other truths that we also have to keep in balance. And this is a little New Testament. This is my pocket knife version, so to speak, that I can carry around with me. And, you know, I love to listen to what Warren Buffett has to say, and I like the writings of Peter Drucker and a lot of great business leaders out there, Jack Welch. But about 4 years ago, I got really deeply convicted that I was more enamored by what Warren Buffett would have to say than I would with what Solomon would have to say. And Warren Buffett and Bill Gates rolled up together have got nothing on what Solomon had going on from a financial standpoint, back in which he wrote some incredible truths and principles that we can apply and should apply in our lives today. And so we just go right on back to quoting what did Solomon have to say, what did Jesus have to say, and really biblical truths will never change. It's the foundation. Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being a faithful steward of all that's entrusted to us and to have a positive influence on all who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. Solomon said this. He says, if you will acknowledge the Lord in all your ways. In my little version, it says, even while you're selling chicken. If you'll acknowledge the Lord in all your ways, there's an incredible, wonderful promise that comes with that. You know what it is? He'll direct your paths. How many of us need a little help and direction and counsel and consulting, that we would have some kind of divine sense of direction in what is going on in our lives and in our business, so that we can be the fathers that we need to be, so that we can be the dads that we need to be, so that we can be the leaders that we need to be. And I'm pleased to tell you and report to you and announce to you that our Federal Treasury Department is now publishing motivational messages on our Federal Reserve notes. Would all of you please reach in your wallet right now, reach in your wallet. I want you to ask, if you would, in closing, since I didn't have a slideshow, I've got a point of reference here, but if you have one of these Federal Reserve notes, pass one to your neighbor if you would. Just you don't have to charge. Pull one out there. Surely you have one. Just want to point this out to you, that our Federal Treasury is an important note to us. I love to have fun with these Federal Reserve notes. If you want to have some fun, you might pull up to the window of a Wendy's or Kentucky Fried Chicken and ask them, do you accept Federal Reserve notes? I find that when I pull to the window, oftentimes they're not sure. And I said, well, check with the manager. Well, they go and find the manager and have to look around. The manager comes by, and do you accept Federal notes? Do you accept these? And they have a big smile on their face. Oh, yes. Well, by then there's 10 cars stacked up in the drive-thru line. So it's kind of like the cable guy, forgive me, Lord, you know, when I do this on Sundays. But if you would, turn to the back of this Federal Reserve note, and this message is now printed on all of your paper currency. And I thought it quite encouraging to know that in these economic times, our Federal Reserve wanted to have a motivational, inspirational message during these turbulent times. And you'll notice right above the denomination that you have there, these words, in God we trust. Do you know where that phrase, in God we trust, comes from? Let me give you the history. Now, this is our federal government. That's the same government that's taken the 10 Commandments out of the courtrooms, taking prayer out of the schools. But on the other end of the ball, while all that was going on, our Federal Reserve and Treasury Department said, we need this on our currency. Here's where it comes from. Francis Scott Key in the 1700s wrote the Star-Spangled Banner and used this phrase, in God we trust. In 1864, right about the time we had the Civil War going on, the Yankees up north wanted to invoke God's blessing on the Yankees, and it was decided that they wanted to put in God we trust on the 2-cent coin that existed at the time. And that's where it sat for many years until we come around to 1956. And in 1956, during the time of the communist threat and Cold War and the atheistic communist, that phrase was intricately locked together, our Congress said that they wanted to adopt this phrase, in God we trust, to replace the national motto that we had that said from many to one, El Pluribus Unum. And as a result, for the first time in the late 1950s, in God we trust was put on our currency. And I think it's also ironic that it wasn't until as recently as 1986 that a motion was made and amended to have this, our national motto, printed on all our currency. In God we trust. You know, do we? trusting God. I just want to encourage you that there is a God in heaven who loves each one of us very, very much. He knows that our work matters. You're either disobedient to God's will in your life, or you're exactly where God wants you to be. I think Bob over here is exactly where God wants him to be. I think our mayor over here is exactly where God wants him to be, with all these unique gifts and talents and abilities, and they're in their sweet spot. They're where God wants them to be. And so when you and I find our place of service, when you and I are right there where God wants us to be, it's a joy unspeakable. It's a peace that others don't understand. Hard work becomes wonderful work, exciting work, fulfilling work, work that makes you feel like you're making a difference out there for the place that God has called you to be. So I want to encourage you to be out there, go after it, make a difference. Our society today needs who you are and what you are and the principles that you stand for the sake of the next generation. Let's keep the main thing the main thing. And lastly, let me just encourage you that as you redeem that card for that free milkshake that you received down here, and let me just encourage you to please drink responsibly. Those have 870 calories in that Chick-fil-A milkshake. But it would not offend us at all if you redeem that coupon, if you would please bring somebody else with you that pays full price, if you would. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Second our appreciation.
Oh, wow.
The talent.
You're very kind. Thank you, sir.